Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of the Nashville Native. Like always, I'm your host, Justin Hawkins. Here on the Nashville Native, it's another reminder we talk all things Nashville sports. And you can follow that sports content on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, or even send in your suggestions to our email. So we've got a good show for you today. We're talking another Titans win, and we recap the game against the Houston Texans. That was Sunday. Then we talk a little bit into the trade deadline. Plus, we head into Kansas City as the Titans head to the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football this coming Sunday. And then we close with the Preds and what's going on with them. And always, we have our segment, The Best Moment of the Week. This is all next on the Nashville Native. All right, so we get to talk another Titans victory. That's 5 straight for the Two-Tone Blue. And now we're rolling. They're just rolling into Week 9 of the NFL schedule. But we have the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football in Arrowhead. That's not looking good. But let's just look at what we've done so far. We've won 5 straight. We've got the Las Vegas Raiders. Then they played the Indianapolis Colts twice and beat them both times. So a good season sweep there. Then you have the Washington Commanders. And then on Sunday, what felt like a blowout, but really was just a 17-10 victory against the Houston Texans. So we're 5-2, but if you think about it, those 5 teams that we beat are really less than stellar. The 2 teams you've lost to are one of the top teams in the NFC and the New York Giants, which still surprised by that, by the way. They're winning a lot of close games, but they're winning, and that's the most important thing for them. And then you got blown out on Monday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills. So that's your 2 losses, and that's your 5 wins. Still, we're 5-2, and this time last year we were 6-2. So they're on par for being one of the top teams in the AFC. Now, by no means do I think we're competing at the moment with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. Now, we'll find out next Sunday what's really going to happen. But, here's the thing. We're going into Week 9. Halloween was yesterday, and now we're going into the holiday season. We're about to be at the midway point of the season, which we're just about there. 7 games in, 17-game season. So we're really turning the corner. But if you look at the schedule, I don't want to look too far ahead. But if you look at the schedule, it's actually kind of in favor of the Tennessee Titans, especially the way they play football. Good defense, run the ball. All right, so with that being said, let's look into the matchup that was Sunday against the Houston Texans. So it was a 17-10 victory, but don't let that score fool you. The Titans blew the Texans out. There was nothing the Texans could do that could really stop the Titans. It didn't matter what they did. They could run the ball, they could throw the ball. The Titans were all over the place. Defense was great, got good sacks, good pressure up front, and the Titans ran all over Derrick Henry, 219 yards and 2 touchdowns. Malik Willis did play the game, by the way. For those of you who didn't watch the game or not, Ryan Tannehill did have to sit out the game due to his ankle injury that he faced the week prior. Now, Malik Willis did a fine job, and when I say fine, I just mean fine. It's not like he did anything special. He was not asked to throw the ball much, and he didn't. He threw it 6 times. He threw it 10 times. 6 of those was completions, and one of those 10 throws was an interception, and that was a terrible throw. It was behind Cody Hollister. Now, Cody Hollister made an interesting play there. I think when he realized he wasn't going to catch the ball, he just dove, maybe try to get an offensive or a defensive pass interference, but it was terrible. But the play in general was terrible. They weren't asked to do much, and to be honest with you, the way Malik played, we could have had anybody out there in the quarterback's position. Heck, if Derrick Henry played the quarterback position, I think they still would have been fine. Just run Wildcat all day and it would have been okay, because obviously the Houston Texans could do nothing to stop the run. They knew it was coming and still didn't do anything. They stacked the box time and time again, and next thing you know, you have Derrick Henry running here. And one of his early runs was for a 41-yard run. Like I said, could do nothing all day. Defense played great. There's really not much to talk about if you want to talk about a recap, because the Titans just did everything. Now, if you want to look at the flaws and how you can always improve, there's always that. Robert Woods had a fumble on a punt return. Now, it wasn't fully his fault. It's not like he muffed the punt or anything like that. He started running, and one of the Texans' special teamers had a really good play on the ball and got his hand on the ball and punched it out. So it's not fully on the punt kind of thing, but you got to hold on to the ball. You can't have costly turnovers. And, of course, you had the interception by Malik Willis. Now, it's not like the Titans couldn't stop the Texans or anything like that. I mean, they had 3 points until the last minute of the game when they scored a late touchdown to make it 17-10. So, like I said, it was a blowout. The Titans played good. Obviously, they know how to run the ball. But the pass protection is just awful. And that's going to lead into my next topic about the trade deadline in just a minute. But the pass protection is pretty bad. I mean, even the Texans, who don't have a strong defensive front or whatever, were letting time and time again people in the backfield get into Malik Willis, making him scramble, trying to either throw away the ball or getting sacked. Just the pass protection is terrible. Dennis Daly, obviously there's a reason why he's not a starting left tackle, and the only reason why he is for us is because Taylor Lewan is out, and he's out for the year. So, you have Nicholas Petit-Frere, who did okay. He's doing his rookie up and downs, which is typical among most of the NFL teams. You have your rookies that do good, you have them do bad another week. So that was kind of one of those games. But this is one of those games where you can afford that. Okay? The Texans are not a great team. So if you have a rookie, especially if he's a right tackle, go up and down, that's fine. Dylan Radins played pretty well on Sunday. He's holding his own at playing at guard. Ben Jones obviously is one of the toughest players in the league. That was evident last week, the week before. I don't know if y'all saw the video that came out on social media where Mike Vrabel came out and hugged him and cried. I mean, that was a very special moment, and that shows you why Mike Vrabel is the coach that he is and why the players want to play for him. So, the offensive line, it's ups and downs. They have one of the best run blocking, which is weird. You have one of the better run blocking teams in the league, from wide receivers to running backs to the offensive line, just how they block in general. And then they're one of the worst in pass blocking. How you can do that, I don't know, but obviously they don't have a good jump off the ball and to get back and block. But they have a good push. So there's a little bit of difference there, and they know how to swing and everything like that. But the pass blocking is terrible. So like I said, there's not a whole lot to talk about this game, because if you watch the game, it was one of the most boring games that you probably have ever seen. But it was just because Derrick Henry just kept running the ball, or Dontrell Hilliard just kept running the ball. And that's all it was. It was just run the football. In words of the Tennessee Titans and their mantra and the hats that they make, run the damn ball. And that's exactly what happened. Derrick Henry just kept running and kept running. 32 times, 219 yards, 2 touchdowns. And that's all you needed. That's all you needed to get by. Now, the other thing that was bad was Randy Bullock missed 2 field goals. So, when you look at the Chiefs, when you come in to Sunday Night Football, you have a fumble, you have an interception, and you have 2 missed field goals. Those are all opportunities that the Kansas City Chiefs will more than take care of and put you down. They will score points on you and not look back. And if you can't put points on the board, you're in trouble. Luckily, it was the Houston Texans, and that's all there really is said to be about it. Because the Houston Texans are one of the worst teams in the league, if not the worst, and probably will have the first or second draft pick in the coming draft. So, that's really all the recap that needs to be happening. So, let's kind of move on into the trade deadline. What did the Titans do? Well, it's more what they did not do. Okay, so the Tennessee Titans, they obviously have needs at cornerback, they have needs at wide receiver, and they have needs at the offensive line. Specifically the offensive tackle, the left tackle, Dennis Daly. Okay, he should be a backup, but here's what the Titans decided to do. Because we're 5-2, because the Titans are 5-2, they're keeping the team the way it is. They did not make a move at the trade deadline. Now, what's my opinion on this? My opinion is that I expected that. The Titans, John Robinson, is not a big trade deadline acquisition kind of guy. Okay, he kind of knows where his team is at midway point of the season and if they're going to improve and if they're not. If they're in go-for-it mode, then they're going to. Usually, if he wants to go for it, it's at the beginning of the season. Like Jadeveon Clowney a couple years ago. Or Vic Beasley, as well as that same year with Jadeveon Clowney. And then last year with Julio Jones. Those are his go-for-it moves, but he does it at the beginning of the season. He's not a really big trade deadline guy. And that is evidenced once again. Now, what's the Titans? The Titans are a 5-2 team that run the ball. Okay? Well, they can run the ball, and they will run the ball. Doesn't matter who the opponent is, they will run the ball. Okay? They did not go get a receiver even though they need one. They did not go get an offensive tackle even though they need one. But my opinion is they don't need that because the way their roster is currently constructed and the way the AFC is currently constructed and the NFC, the Titans are not going to win a Super Bowl. Let's just face it. The Titans are not going to win a Super Bowl with this roster. It is just simply not good enough. They don't have the weapons to compete with a Kansas City or to compete with a Buffalo or to compete with a Philadelphia. Okay? Oh, by the way, Philadelphia, they have your weapon, A.J. Brown. So, take that what you will. That trade is starting to look worse and worse by the minute because A.J. Brown, there was a little stat that came out on CBS. I saw it on Twitter the other day. A.J. Brown has 39 completions on the year. The Titans receivers as a whole has 51. A.J. Brown has 659 receiving yards. The Titans, 658. One person has one more yard than the whole Titans receiving corps. And by the way, he was on your team last year. He also has more touchdowns than all of your wide receivers. That's how bad this passing offense has become. That is on the receivers not getting open. That is on the availability and the health of the receivers that you have on the field. And that is also on the pass blocking and the coaching. It's just, we have a passing game coordinator that's supposed to help in this, but you just can't get the ball out in time to get good deep balls or to make good touchdowns, okay? This is why the Titans will and always will be, at least for now, a running team. And that is why the Titans did not go make a move. They cannot compete with these teams. They may make it to the playoffs because the AFC South is terrible. But for now, they will win the AFC South. They will make it into the playoffs, and they will lose either the first round or the second round. If they surprise me and they go on to the Super Bowl, of course, I'm going to be very happy, but I will eat my words. I will definitely eat my words, and I will come on here and I will say it. But as of right now, there's no move that you can make unless, trading away your whole future to win a Super Bowl. It's just not going to happen. So there is no receiver on the market to really help you now or to help you this season. There was no offensive tackle that was worth it to help you now or in the future. You might as well keep the draft picks, keep the money that you do have, which is very little, especially on the money front. We only have I don't even think we have $2 million in cap space. So keep what you have and move forward. So the Titans, like I said, did nothing at the trade deadline. They will move forward, move to Kansas City on Sunday night. So speaking of the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously they are one of the best teams in the AFC, if not the NFL. They lost to the Buffalo Bills a few weeks ago, but they will come off the bye into Arrowhead, and they will look down to take on the 5-2 Tennessee Titans. This is going to be a very good matchup because the Titans have won 5 straight. Yes, they have played some very low caliber teams, so this is going to probably be one of their best matchups of the season, minus the Buffalo Bills that have already happened, and you know what happened there. So Sunday Night Football, prime time. This is what you want. This is how you're going to test your season. How will the Titans respond? Okay, you just came off Derrick Henry 219 yards. He's going to get his good rest. But you can't just run the ball. Okay, you know what happens when you just try to run the ball. The 2019 AFC Championship happens, where Derrick Henry hardly even plays in the second half. So a good play scheme. Hopefully Ryan Tannehill makes his way back, because if not, Malik Willis is just not going to happen. It's not going to work. You're going to lose the game, bar none. There's no question about it. Now, Malik Willis has plenty of time to grow, by the way. I'm going to go on a little rant on Malik Willis. He's going to grow, but right now, he is a backup in this league. He has not shown much progress from preseason. He has the capability and his abilities as a quarterback to show you why he can be something, but right now he's just not it. He's not making the reads. He's got so much hesitancy in his game. He doesn't know whether to run. He doesn't know whether to pass. He doesn't know how to pass into wide open windows because the cornerbacks are closing in. So he needs much more time to develop, and it will come. But Ryan Tannehill needs to get healthy, and I'm sure the Titans probably look at the Texans as a bye week, and that's fine because really your show is Sunday night. So the Chiefs, they're gonna come hot. And oh, by the way, they did make a trade early in the week last week to Kadarius Toney, the second-year wide receiver from the New York Giants, coming out of Florida. He's fast. Okay, that's what the Chiefs want. They always just want fast receivers, good yards after the catch, and just go at it. And the Titans struggle with the fast, deep wide receivers, and that's just plain and simple. Now, they traded him when he had a hamstring injury, but I did find out that he is expected to play against the Titans. Now, how much he's going to be expected to play, that's undetermined right now because, how much can he learn the playbook? But can Patrick Mahomes throw him open? Well, of course, as Patrick Mahomes, he can do just about anything. He can throw him a left-handed pass if he wanted to. So, it's going to come down to, can the Titans cover? Can the Titans get to the quarterback? Can Jeffrey Simmons and Danico Autry and Bud Dupree, can they show up? And can they get to Patrick Mahomes and can they rush him? Because the NFL has shown one thing over the course of the years. If you rush the quarterback and you make them panic, some bad decisions happen. And hopefully that's what the Titans need to do. They need to win the turnover battle. That's going to be plain and simple. That's the only way the Titans are going to win is if they get to Patrick Mahomes and they win the turnover battle. Good gracious, can't say the word. So it's going to be big, and they got to keep Derrick Henry on the field. Okay, that's the only ways. We don't have the receivers available. It's Robert Woods, Nick Westbrook-Akine, and then whatever else you want to trot out there. Treylon Burks doesn't come back until the following week against the Broncos, and then Kyle Phillips is still out with another 2 weeks or so on IR. So you really don't have a lot of options as wide receivers, so it's going to be run the football. Not much on offense. It's probably going to be a lackluster offensive touchdown output again for the Titans. But how much can they limit the Chiefs? Because they can sling the ball. It's going to be interesting to find out. And when we come back here next week, I hope to be talking about a Titans win, but let's not get our hopes up, by the way. All right. So then moving on to the Preds. Okay, what can we really think about the Preds? They've not been great. They've really not been great. Let me pull up their schedule as far as what they've done the last couple weeks, and I mean it's I came on here and we talked about the little break they had after they lost to Philadelphia the previous Saturday, and how it was much needed to get back on track, to find that intensity that they've been searching for. They're really the Preds identity that they need and that they've always had, and bringing that back under John Hines. Well, it showed. They started out the game against St. Louis last Thursday. St. Louis scored pretty well immediately, about a minute and a half into the game. And then it was pretty much all Nashville after that. The final score was 6-2, and that was the best showing so far this season. And how did the Preds follow up on Saturday against Washington Capitals? A big fat 0. A big fat goose egg. 3-0 loss at home, to make matters worse. So this season, I don't know if it's the coaching. I don't know if it's the players. Philip Forsberg, like I mentioned, has just signed his new contract. So you've got your high-caliber players. They're not producing. Kyle Granlund had a pretty good day. Roman Josi didn't score, but he got another assist. He was in the play at all times. That was last Thursday. And then obviously nobody scored or anything against the Capitals. So the Preds, they're just not doing much. If you watch the game, there's not a lot of intensity. They're creating penalties. Sometimes when you create penalties, that's because you're not good enough and you can't keep up with the other team. And that's kind of what they're showing, is they're creating too many penalties because they're just getting beat. And the more that they get beat, the more that their frustrations show. And the more the frustrations show, the more penalties you see and the losses will come. Power play goals. They continue to struggle on the power play. They're still one of the bottom of the league, and if you compare it to last year when they were one of the top in the league, you wonder with the same personnel what's the struggles. It's not like the NFL where teams just really figure out on the power play. Now, of course, it's 5-on-4. There's not a whole lot of defensive schemes that you can throw out there other than you just pressure them. When the Preds get pressured, they don't do very well. And that's what's happening. So they've got Edmonton tonight. They're in Edmonton, Western Canada. So they got a 8 o'clock start. Then on Thursday, they go to Calgary. And then Saturday, they go to Vancouver. So they're doing the Western Canada trip. So and then the week after that, they have Seattle and Colorado. So they're doing a big West trip. And it's going to test their due diligence. How much intensity can they have, especially at the end of the road trip, because the Colorado Avalanche and the reigning Stanley Cup champions. So what can they do? What can they provide on the ice? I'm not saying this is going to tell you what's going to happen for the rest of the season, because obviously it's a very long season and it's just begun. But the Preds are not doing much. Like I said, there's no intensity. Your high caliber players that are supposed to be putting up points, they're not putting up the points. There's not enough goals like there was last year. And last year, it's so funny that they have one of their franchise record in scoring, and Roman Josi with his points as a defenseman, and 2 franchise records with 40 goal scorers, and Philip Forsberg and Matt Duchene and their highest total ever for their personal record with over 80 points, which is also first time for a Preds franchise since Paul Kariya. So they do all these firsts last year, and they limp into the playoffs. They have the same players, but they're doing so much worse. They just look like they can't skate. And it's becoming embarrassing to watch, and it's very frustrating to watch. But as a fan, of course, I'm always going to be loyal. I'm always going to support them. But I'm also going to be very critical, and that's what I'm doing right now. And until they show that they can be a high-caliber team, criticism will fall. And maybe it's time David Poile looks himself in the mirror and says, maybe this team is not in, we just blow it up. I've been kind of searching for an answer. Okay, we thought we had an answer with Nino Niederreiter, and he's done very well to start the season, but nobody else has. Okay, Philip Tomasino is in Milwaukee, and he's one of your best prospects, and he played all season last year, and now all of a sudden he's not good enough to play. Maybe it's time not to blow up the team, but to kind of have a little bit of a restart. And I'm not talking about this competitive rebuild that was 2 years ago or last year with all these rookies and stuff like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about an actual rebuild. And we all may just have to endure what's to follow. So if I'm David Poile, I'm looking myself in the mirror and I'm thinking, can this team do anything? And I'm going to give myself a timeline. With the holidays coming up, I'm going to give my team until about midway point between Thanksgiving and Christmas and see how the team is. Obviously, the trade deadline is I think it's in February. Give yourself some time, see where you're at. And if not, it's time to really look yourself in the mirror and just do something you may not want to do. Okay, David Poile is the longest tenured GM in the league, but he's never won a Stanley Cup. And he's been with 2 franchises, the Capitals and the Preds, and never won a Stanley Cup. And maybe there's a reason behind that. And maybe the Preds just need a new face. But until then, we're just really not gonna know. We may just have to watch a lot of frustrating skaters on the ice. So, all right. So that's kind of, all my breakdowns to that. So let's do my favorite segment of the week. Well, really, it's my only segment of the week that's not talking about Nashville sports. It's called The Best Moment of the Week. All right, the best moment of the week is brought to you by Derrick Henry, none other than the King. He scored his 75th career rushing touchdown with the Tennessee Titans on Sunday, which took him into the lead for the most in franchise history. It was an epic day. Obviously, he had the 219 yards rushing, and then he had 2 touchdowns. So it was a great day altogether, and if you're a fantasy owner just like I am of Derrick Henry, you enjoyed a lot of success. Now, Derrick Henry's had a fantastic career with the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, he started back in 2016. He was drafted in the second round behind DeMarco Murray and was really just supposed to learn and supplement the team. Okay? And what happened? As soon as DeMarco Murray left, insert the King, and everything since then. If he didn't get hurt last year, he would be on 5 straight 1,000-yard season. Now, that's barring any setbacks this year, and I'm praying that he does not get hurt. But barring any setbacks, Derrick Henry should be 5 straight 1,000-yard rushes. Now, obviously, because he got hurt last year, it's going to count against him. But, of course, none other than he does have a 2,000-yard season. So, looking at his highlights from the game, obviously he had an epic day, so we'll let that go. But Derrick Henry has had, back in 2018, when it really all started, was just over 1,000 yards. 2019, he had 1,500 yards. You see where I'm going with this. 2020, the epic season of 2,027 yards, beating out Chris Johnson for the franchise there. Last year, he did get hurt, but he also was running the ball at an unbelievable rate. You know, here's just put in perspective: 378 rushes in 2019, and then he, with 8 games, just half of the 16 games he played in 2020, he had 219 rush attempts. That's crazy, over half in just 8 games. But he only got 937 yards. Now, he was on pace for a 2,000-yard season last year, believe that. This year, he's played 7 games. He have 166 attempts and already 755 yards. And that's with the first 2 games being really a no-show. So he is running at an unbelievable rate. If you compare him to the other rushers in the league, he is 3rd in rushing with just 7 games played. And he's looking like a man on a mission to get to 2,000 again, or at least become the leading rusher in the NFL once again. Now, he's making a Hall of Fame case. He's doing it week in and week out. He's putting himself on notice. He's doing this with a pretty bad offensive line. Now, I already told you once that the offensive line is one of the better run blocking, even though they're bad at pass blocking. But they're really good. Derrick Henry makes them look so much better. So much better. He just has the skill. He can catch out of the backfield. Much better than what he used to, by the way. He can run the ball. Obviously, it's clear he can run the ball. 219 yards, for instance. So Derrick Henry is taking this offense, and really he's doing what he can make of it, because he's the only thing that's good about this Titans offense so far this year. Obviously, I said he's got the slow start, but now he's made his way into the franchise record for 75 touchdowns, passing Eddie George and Earl Campbell for the most in the Titans franchise. This year, he's got 7 touchdowns on the season, which is really respectable considering, like I said, how the offense started. But he's really picked it up as of late. He's had 4 straight 100-yard rushes against the Colts twice, the Washington Commanders, and, of course, the Houston Texans on Sunday. So we'll see what he can do against Kansas City next week, and we're really hoping that he can take this team to new heights. This man, I don't like to say people deserve a Super Bowl, but man, this guy deserves a Super Bowl. As much as he's done for this franchise, and much as he alone puts recognition on the Titans' name, being a very small market, and how much national attention that we get, it's because of him. And like I said, I don't like saying people deserve a Super Bowl, but this guy deserves a Super Bowl. I mean, there's a reason why everybody knows his name is the King. He is the rushing king. And he is on his way to be the rushing king once again this season. I really hope he does it. And that's why he is this week's best moment of the week. Well, that's it for today's show of the Nashville Native. I hope you enjoyed this one. We'll see you next week. And remember, if you want to follow any of our Nashville sports content, you can do so on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. But until then, I'll see you next week. I'm Justin Hawkins, and this is the Nashville Native.